Yo, what is up guys, your boy Salza here, bringing you guys a video about how to be Brandish Maidens and what cards exactly you want to play to actually defeat this matchup. Without a doubt, this deck is going to be one of the strongest decks in the format, and if you're not prepared for this deck, you're going to have a very tough time dealing with this deck. So I'm going to show you a few cards you can play to beat this deck, so let's get started. The first card I want to talk about in this video is Droll Lockbird, and pretty much any card that stops cards from adding from deck to hand. These cards are very good against this matchup because it stops startup engage and pretty much stops the deck from gaining advantage. The good thing about Droll Lockbird though is that it is a hand trap, so there's not really any outs to this card besides monster negation or called by the grave, for an example. So this card is very strong against this matchup because it just basically stops their whole turn because they can't gain advantage at all, and all they can really do is pass their turn. If you're looking for a very easy or strong out to this deck, this is definitely the choice you want to consider the most. The next card I want to talk about in this video is Evenly Match, or any cards that get rid of either their back row or their monsters, mainly their spell and trap cards, because they're going to use things like Widow Anchor and a lot of other trap cards to kind of defend their monsters and their cards in general. Resolving Evenly Match against this matchup is going to be very devastating because they rely on setting all of their trap cards with multi-roll, so when you banish all of their advantage, they're really not going to have anything but the card they added to their hand, with either Shiz or Kagari or any cards they already had in their hand. So this is going to be a very strong card against this matchup because it just gets rid of everything, and then you're able to make your board to stop them. The next cards I want to talk about in this video is cards that can either stop or negate spell cards, such as Imperial Order and Anti-Spell Fragrance. These cards are very strong against this matchup because it not only stops them from using spell cards, but they do not have any outs to any of these cards. So these cards are very powerful against this matchup because it basically says end your turn and you lose. Since Brandish Maidens are so worried about gaining advantage with their spell cards, they're not really worried about these stun cards, and that could be a very big issue. So if they don't have any outs to this card, it's just basically an auto win against this matchup, and is why it's very strong against this deck. The next card I want to talk about in this video is Macrocosmos, or any card that banishes cards from your opponent's graveyard. These cards are very powerful against this matchup because it says that you cannot really get 3 cards in your graveyard, or 3 spell cards in your graveyard, so you can use the additional effects of the Brandish Maiden cards or the Sky Striker cards. This not only stops them from getting 3 spell cards in the graveyard, but it also stops them from using cards like Multi-Roll and also Kagari from recurring your cards back from the graveyard to your field or your hand. Yes, these cards are very good against this matchup, but with other decks, it's not really good to run because it also affects you as well. So that is it for this card. The last and final card I want to talk about in this video is Waking the Dragons. Now, we've seen this card recently in the meta in people's side decks because of how good True Dracos are and how they recklessly hit your back rows. Now, this is the same thing with Brandish Maiden. Brandish Maidens would often throw out their afterburners and their jamming waves to get rid of your opponent's cards, but they're not really too worried about Waking the Dragons, which is going to be a very strong card against the matchup because it summons something like Naturia Exterio, Ultimate Falcon, Last Warrior from Another Planet. These cards are very strong against this matchup, and something like Ultimate Falcon just secures the win for you because they don't have any outs to that card if they're not playing Kaiju. So that is all I want to say about this card, because it's not really anything they can do about these cards after they resolve because they're just so strong. Something like Ultimate Falcon's really strong and they can't out it. Naturia Exterio just negates everything, and Last Warrior from Another Planet just stops everything as well. So these cards are very powerful against this matchup. So that is it, guys. Let me know what you guys think about this video and what should I do to improve these type of videos, because I want to produce more of these videos on how to beat certain decks, because I feel like there's not a lot of channels actually doing this, and I think it's a really good idea. So let me know what you guys think about this video, and I'm out.